Stretch, stretch, stretch. You can put it on the board. Yes.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas from the AMP TV mobile studio. Actually, we didn't move the glass bubble inside this particular property. This is actually the Venetian Palazzo. We're right in between the two hotels. So we have our camera crew in here, but we have to be a little bit quiet. So guess what? We're not going to be making too much noise. A big welcome into everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Of course, Magic 97.9 FM right here in Las Vegas. Everybody watching on Facebook, welcome in. And right from the very top of the show, never mind the sponsor, we'll get to them in the next segment. For the very top of the show, we have Eli, the Dream Crusher Thompson. He's going to join us by telephone. Eli, what's going on, buddy?
What's going on today? You know, I would say we're going to talk about high school sports, but March Madness is coming, and I think all of our viewers also know what's coming too on this segment.
Oh, yeah. All right, so since you're on a time schedule today, what do you got, young man? By the way, Eli is 14 years of age. He started with us when he was 12. He's 14 now. All right, so Mr. 14, what do you got for us?
You know, so you filled out a tournament, and so a bracket, my mistake. And I filled out a bracket. So we're doing a competition to everyone, for everyone on the show, for all of us to know. So I'm filling out a bracket. He's filling out a bracket. The loser of the bracket has to send a fan letter to the person that the other person chooses. Now, since we know that I'm going to win this, when Sal loses, he's going to have to send a fan letter to Phillip Rivers. But in the complete shocker that Sal manages to pull a huge upset, an upset of the century, I would have to send a fan letter to Jim Harbaugh.
And why did I pick Jim Harbaugh for you?
Because my mom's a huge Michigan fan. And
no, it's because you can't stomach the Big Ten. That's why.
And I don't want to have to do this because I know that LSU, I'm a huge LSU fan, is going to end up losing to Michigan. I know they're going to lose that game. I don't want to have to go back to back on this one to have LSU lose a game to Michigan and then have to send a fan letter to Jim Harbaugh. That just wouldn't be fun.
Oh, I got to tell you, man, that in itself is worth the price of admission. There's no way on this planet LSU is going to beat Michigan. And frankly, I think LSU is a very lucky team to be in the position they are. Because let's face it, if you look at the SEC, Arkansas came in on a 9-game win streak, win streak, and somehow magically an upset happened.
Don't give me that. LSU got a terrible seeding. They should have been higher. Florida got the 7th seed. LSU had a much better record than Florida. They beat Florida, had a better conference record than Florida, and they went farther in the SEC tournament than Florida. Florida got the 7th seed. LSU got the 8th seed. How does that happen?
Well, look, there's a lot of question marks. Okay, but all right, so let me throw something by you, Eli, the Dream Crusher. Think about this. Loyola of Chicago ends up with an 8 seed, and they are the best defensive unit in the entire country in points against. Those guys are the very best. And you want to talk about a tough draw? It's not Georgia Tech in the first round. That doesn't really matter. But what matters is they're going to have to play Illinois in the second round, which really they should have put Loyola at least in a different bracket, so maybe at some point they could have met later in the tournament if the stars aligned, in the same fact that Loyola is on the opposite side of the bracket of Michigan, where they had that battle, of course, in the Final Four a couple of years ago. And Loyola is a better team this year. You want to talk about bad seeds? Don't give me this LSU nonsense and the SEC. Look, Alabama is the only legit team at this point from the SEC, and I even shudder when I say Alabama and legit in the first place. And that's for all you people listening over in Auburn on WAUD. Listen, I don't think Alabama is that good, but at the end of the day, they're in a soft bracket, at least to get them to the 16. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do think LSU will pose a threat to Michigan. I'm not saying they're going to win, but they should have had a much better bracket position. If they were put in the position that Florida is in right now, they would be going to the Sweet 16, mark my words. And second of all, Loyola of Chicago is going to lose to the Ramblin' Wreck. Mark my words again. They are not as good of a team as Georgia Tech is. They are just not. They played nobody. And when they did play one good team, they got ran out of the building. They got ran out of the building by Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
The one good team
so you're saying that Georgia Tech and Wisconsin are like kind? Come on, man.
At least Georgia Tech played some good teams. I mean, who did Loyola of Chicago
so Loyola
play?
hasn't played good teams? They play who's on the schedule. They beat Drake twice. Drake has, 2 losses, and they're both to Loyola.
Drake?
Give me a break.
Drake? Who's Drake?
Yeah.
Who's Drake?
You better do your homework, son. Oh, better yet, don't do your homework because you can still change your bracket, but that's not going to happen.
I don't know who Drake is.
Of course,
I might know
because they don't play in the SEC. That's why.
But they're a nobody. They're a nobody. Georgia Tech has been battle tested.
I would laugh if Drake made it to the Final Four, just so you could say the nobody made it to the Final Four.
Keep dreaming. Keep dreaming.
Listen, I'm not dreaming because Drake's not going to make the Final Four. But just for you, I would love to see Drake do really well. Drake is a very good club. You probably don't know anything about it because you just only care about the SEC. But guess what? The Big Ten owns this tournament. The Big Ten owns this tournament. Look, they've got 9 teams in there, of which 7 are really good, and 7 of them have a legitimate shot to win the tournament. I don't believe that Gonzaga has been tested enough. I mean, they play who they play, but Gonzaga certainly will get bumped off at the end of the day.
My question, what? I think we should have something. So on Thursday, when Wichita State plays Drake, we can have a watch party. Me and you, Sal. If viewers want to show up, possibly, maybe, we can have a watch party to see how bad Wichita State is going to beat Drake. What do you think about that,
Those are 2 good teams, though. But wait a minute. Those are 2 very good teams, and it's too bad they have to face each other.
Come on.
And, by the way, the best, I can't say the best because the Boilermaker is the best. One of the best mascots in all of college sports is the Shocker from Wichita State. And I absolutely love that. It's one of the most fierce looking, clearly one of the ugliest, but one of the most intimidating of all the mascots that are out there today.
So I don't know, the mascots are big. We got, we got some news. We could be in Indianapolis on Sunday covering some of the NCAA tournament. Me and
so you,
my
your
dad.
family, are you going to go down to see the tournament in Indianapolis?
We're going to cover it. We didn't get tickets because we thought of this at the last minute, and the tickets run up high when you look at them at the last minute. We're going to go down to Indianapolis, and so we'll get some really good content for the Sports Circus, and we'll get to catch some of Purdue fans' tears when they lose in the second round.
What? Sorry, buddy. That ain't happening.
I just had to throw that by you. I just had to throw that by you with the Purdue thing because I actually do think Purdue's going to go to the Elite Eight. I just think it's in Indiana. They're playing on their home turf, essentially. I think they're going to really show up to play, and I think they're going to they'd have Villanova, I think. No. I think they'd have Villanova in the second round if they win that game. I think they'd beat Villanova. Would. And so I think
no question.
I think they're going to beat. I think they have Illinois in their bracket or Baylor. Baylor in their
they're going to have they're going to have their hands full with Baylor.
I think they're going to beat Baylor.
Yeah, I'm just saying they're going to have their hands full with Baylor. But remember, Purdue is the biggest team. They're the tallest team in the Big Ten, and they are one of the leaders in defense, at least throughout the entire Midwest, period. I'm talking all the Midwestern states. I'm not talking about the brackets. Purdue is a very tough out. I wouldn't want to have to face them. 7'4" Edney is a shot blocking machine. And by the way, they are steal masters. So guess what? That is a very tough team. But give me a quick upset because we're coming to break here. Give me an upset.
Watch the Beavers when they play Tennessee. I got Oregon State to beat Tennessee in the first round.
All right. I'm looking at Georgetown. Georgetown over Colorado in the first round. Neither team is very good, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to stick with Georgetown in that one. I mean, they're good enough to get where they're at. What do you got?
I got the Hoyas too.
Right. Okay.
I think
well, Eli, guess what? We're out of time for the segment here, but thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us, Eli, in this segment. And, folks, we're going to be back with a little bit of football. We're going to talk about the Bears and the debacle with Andy Dalton. Yes, Andy Dalton, Chicago Bears. What? All right, back here in a few minutes, folks. Lots more to come here on the Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
My favorite one had to do with the Green Bay Packers. And I love the fact that they dealt off Ty Montgomery because of a blown assignment. Green Bay isn't Green Bay unless they have a good running game. Then they can win 10 Super Bowls. The fact is, you don't have a running game. You've got 70% passing, and that's not where Aaron Rodgers needs to be. He needs to be in a position where he's got a running game to offset the passing game and so forth. I like the move. Green Bay didn't have a running game anyway, so all they're doing is saying, we're going to get rid of you because you don't follow instructions.
Well, he made one of the most boneheaded plays I've ever seen. There's 2 minutes and 5 seconds on the clock. They traded him on Tuesday.
They should have cut him on Sunday night.
He shouldn't have been on the plane back to Green Bay.
Right, they should have made him walk back to Green Bay.
No, it was a terrible play. Now, he's not a stupid guy. He went to Stanford. He's not a dumb guy.
He's not a dumb guy, but he doesn't follow instructions.
He made a terrible play.
The fact is he didn't follow instructions. And you say he's not a dumb guy. His own agenda he put ahead of his team.
I agree.
Thus, he is a dumb guy. Right or wrong?
Wrong. He just got selfish. You're not going to convince me that a guy from Stanford's a dum-dum.
No!
This is Sidney Justin from the Miracles.
So you heard yesterday's show at Roy Firestone. Did you hear a little clip about him going into the office where Smokey was at? And that was really good material, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was really funny, man.
Yeah, and then you heard him.
I thought it was hilarious. It was cool, though. It was cool. Really cool story, man. I enjoyed listening to that.
Right, and then he gave a couple of bars. Can you give us a couple of more from Ooh Baby Baby? And let's see if you could do it better than Roy Firestone. Come on, man!
All right, you know what? Why not? I did you wrong. My heart went out to play. But in the game, I lost you. What a price to pay. Hey, I'm crying. Ooh, baby, baby. How's that, man?
That's
Is that
incredible.
okay? Is that good enough?
That's incredible.
That's fantastic.
You know why? Because that's what you do. You're in the incredible business, Sid. That's awesome. Yes! Only on the Sports Circus. You're going to get sports. You get music.
You're watching the Sports Circus, and I am Brian Urlacher.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas in the AMP TV mobile studios. Actually, we moved everybody out of the glass bubble, and we're in this really cool spot here in between the Palazzo and the Venetian right here in Las Vegas. All right, folks, this segment is brought to you by Legal Shield, providing legal protection and peace of mind. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances, estate planning, even contracts given to people they don't understand, plus a whole lot more. For more information, contact Legal Shield at 213-245-1305. That's 213-245-1305. Again, 213-245-1305. Or visit online for more information at nocourt.us. That's nocourt.us. And a big welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Magic 97.9 FM right here in Las Vegas. And, of course, a big hello to everybody watching on Facebook, YouTube, thesportscircus.com, wherever we're streaming. I guess we're everywhere, even in hotels from coast to coast, 650,000 rooms. We're there, too. All right, just had a nice segment on hoops with Eli, the Dream Crusher Thompson. Now we're going to shift into the NFL, and I had mentioned right at the very end that the Chicago Bears actually made a deal with Andy Dalton to join the Bears for 1 year for $10 million. Sounds kind of like a game show prize, whatever. Anyway, so according to the four-letter network, former Cowboys quarterback Andy Dalton agreed to that $10 million deal. In fact, it was done just yesterday, and the deal reportedly contains another $3 million in incentives. Now, the Bears aggressively pursued a trade for Russell Wilson, but were turned away by the Seahawks, who insisted they are keeping Russell Wilson. Period. They're not going to get rid of him, as they state. Who knows? Now, Dalton, of course, is coming off a season which he was kind of tossed into the blender. And this guy was coming in, basically mopping up for Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott got himself injured, and then Dak Prescott turns around and wins the lottery with some ridiculous contract of $40 million a year, whatever. Another story for another time. Anyway, Dalton ended up with just over a couple thousand passing yards, 14 TDs, 8 interceptions, and he completed about 65% of his passes in 9 starts. And you say, well, okay, so the Cowboys went 4-5 during his time at quarterback. Is he that good? No. Is the Dallas Cowboys line that bad is what you should be asking him. That is the issue. And if you look back at Troy Aikman, when they drafted Troy Aikman, way back in the day, the Cowboys went 1-15 in Troy's first season. 1-15. But what did they do? They put a giant wall around Troy Aikman. So they took an average quarterback from UCLA and they turned him into a really good quarterback. I mean, basically, you could have threw a German Shepherd back there, and the German Shepherd would have had a great season too, or a great career. But the bigger question is, can the Bears protect Andy Dalton? That is going to be the $10 million question, maybe $13 million, right? According to the terms of the contract. We don't know just yet. But I mean, does Andy clarify the organization really? I mean, does it really bring some clarity to the quarterback position, or does it muddy the water? Look, I mean, the Bears spent last season alternating between mediocre Mitchell Trubisky, and Nick Foles, who is a career journeyman, which I was 100% against bringing Nick Foles in and paying him a whole bunch of money. Same thing with Glennon. Boy, the Bears have made some bad moves, right? And we had Jay Cutler, just the list goes on. It's been awful. Anyway, it's safe to say that neither Trubisky nor Nick Foles did much to really drive confidence in the team as they limped into the playoffs. Now, mediocre Mitch is a free agent now, which, of course, he opened the season as the starter last season before getting benched in week 3, right? And so Nick Foles continued as the starter until week 10, and they finally said, look, enough is enough with this crap. We don't even know who to put in there. They could have probably just went Wildcat and did a hell of a lot better. Now, Foles was the only quarterback, though, under contract for this coming season. So obviously they had no plans to keep mediocre Mitch Trubisky, and they said, au revoir, amigo. All right, so you're out of here. Now, Dalton seems the likely choice to be the starter over Nick Foles, but it's hard to see him performing well enough in a team that really couldn't protect the quarterback in the first place. So what are we talking about here? I mean, look, Dalton's acquisition presumably took place out of the trade market because, let's face it, they couldn't get Russell Wilson and they couldn't get Deshaun Watson. They just couldn't. Now let's let's take a look at Deshaun Watson for just a minute here. This is kind of interesting. Now, Deshaun Watson, there are some issues around this guy, or potential issues. We don't know just yet. We're just reporting on it, so don't shoot the messenger. But remember, there are some questions out there. According to Fox 26 in Houston, the Houston Texans' Deshaun Watson took to social media late last night to deny an apparently forthcoming sexual assault lawsuit that was revealed on Instagram by attorney and prior Houston mayoral candidate Tony Busby. Oh, come on, Deshaun. What are you doing here, kid? What are you doing? Now, Busby disclosed the alleged litigation in a post on his verified social media account basically late last night, referencing, quote, behavior, close quote, by Watson towards Busby's client as the driving factor for the lawsuit in question in the first place. Now, again, Fox 26 over in Houston then reported that Busby told the station that Watson allegedly, quote, went too far, close quote, while getting a massage from a female masseuse who is apparently being represented by Busby. All right, Deshaun, aren't there team masseurs or masseuses or whatever you want to call them? I don't know. Now, while Busby's allegations and media posts were vague, Watson responded to them with a statement posted on his social media account, which he said he had not seen the complaint. Boy, how convenient is that? But that he believed the action to be an extension of a six-figure settlement demand that was apparently made before the suit was even filed. So Watson said in a statement that he had rejected the settlement demand and would clear his name with responses. Now, here's the only post by Deshaun Watson about this. He says, this is on his social media, as a result of social media posts by publicity-seeking plaintiff lawyer, I recently became aware of a lawsuit that has apparently been filed against me. I have yet seen the complaint, but I know this. I have never treated any women with anything other than the utmost respect. The plaintiff's lawyer claimed that this isn't about money, but before filing the suit, he made a baseless six-figure settlement demand, which I quickly rejected. Unlike him, this isn't about money for me. It's about clearing my name, and I look forward to doing that, close quote. And that was by Deshaun Watson. Now, the Houston Texans issued a statement of their own just this morning. Quote, we became aware of a civil lawsuit involving Deshaun Watson through a social media post last night. This is the first time we heard of the matter, and we hope to learn more soon. We take accusations of the nature that involve anyone in the Houston Texans organization seriously. We want and we will await further information before making any additional statements on the incident, close quote. Now, last night's social media volley was an unexpected twist in the offseason Watson saga, of course, which, of course, has seen him as the quarterback been shopped around. But guess what? Nobody really is doing anything for the Deshaun Watson trade. As of last week, the franchise told other NFL teams that it did not intend to actively field offers. And I wonder if this was a product of it. So let's go back into this a little bit. Now, it's stated, this is from Fox 26, that Busby told the station about this. He went too far, et cetera, and then apparently being represented. Now, look, there was a settlement offer apparently made prior to, not a settlement offer, but there was a demand. Let's just call it that. There was a demand, a six-figure demand. Okay, if that were the case, and I'll take this, I'll put the legal hat on here. It says, the action to be an extension, hold on, here's a quote here. It says, but he believed that the action to be an extension of a six-figure settlement demand, which was apparently made before the suit. So apparently Deshaun Watson knew about the demand. Why would they make a demand, a baseless demand, if somebody didn't do anything? That's called a frivolous lawsuit, folks, for all you people that are keeping score on pick your favorite news channel, whether it's NBC News, CNBC Financial, Money Matters Radio, whatever. It doesn't matter. Look, at the end of the day, if there is something called a frivolous lawsuit, now the court system, I can tell you this from my own knowledge, the court system does not like frivolous lawsuits. Number one, it creates bad pub. Number two, it wastes public funds. Better yet, it's probably the other way around. So it wastes public funds first, and it creates bad pub for everybody. And it's a poor use of everyone's time. So this smear campaign, as essentially Deshaun Watson is alleging, maybe this has been part of the bases, not bases, but bases, of him not necessarily having a legitimate trade offer. That could be it. Think about it, folks. Because in the same light, and we're going to get into this in the next segment, Fernando Tatis Jr. made a deal prior to him being drafted by the Chicago White Sox, and everybody was up in arms. Oh, you shouldn't have gotten rid of him, blah, blah, blah. The Padres stole him from you. Not so fast. We're going to get into that a little bit in the next segment here. But maybe there are some underlying facts and figures and lawsuits potentially. I don't know. Who knows what it is? But I'll tell you what, something had to drive other teams away from the possibility that there could be something in Deshaun Watson's background. I don't know. We're on the Texans radio network in Houston. I wish somebody from the greater Houston market would call in and bring some clarity. Maybe Busby can call in. Maybe Fox 26 can call in. Somebody call in and explain what the hell's going on with Deshaun Watson, because this guy is too good to be sitting around wondering what his next move is. The question is, what is he doing in his free time? We don't know, folks. Back here in a few minutes. Going to talk a little baseball after, a little more football, too. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935, or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
So, you want to be in show business. Do people tell you that you're really funny, you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show? Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic every day, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job. Get started in television or radio today with your free talent evaluation from Cali Vegas. Call 949-445-1119 or visit them online at calivegas.com. Make your dream come true today and create your new career and learn how to become a television or radio star with the help of Cali Vegas. 949-445-1119. Call now.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to Sports Circus with Joe Cortez, International Boxing Hall of Fame referee.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas. Folks, make sure that you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our podcasts, and also check out some of our partners. One of those is the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com for upcoming events and games, csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Big round of applause for them. And everybody else joining us on Magic 97.9 FM right here in Las Vegas and our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA, over in sunny Southern California, KCAA 106.5, 102.3, and 1050 AM. Thanks for joining us in the greater Los Angeles market. Down in South Texas, big hello to our friends on the Texans, Rockets, and Astros radio network, KSIX, CBS Sports, as well as our friends in Natchez, Mississippi, Faraday, Louisiana. Thanks for joining us, 107.1 The River, Jim Bob and the Boys of Mid-South Broadcasting, WAUD over in Auburn, Alabama. That's home of the Atlanta Braves, WDJY in Atlanta, and everywhere else that's listening and watching on Facebook. Thanks for joining us. That includes Tyrone Poole. Tyrone is with us a couple of days a week. And Tyrone had said in response to the dialogue with Deshaun Watson, he had said, people take people to court on basically situations every day. 100%, Tyrone. I would absolutely agree. And he continues to say, when people can't stop you individually, they will seek help from other avenues. Could it be that Bill Cosby is in jail because he was about to buy NBC? I'll tell you what, that's a pretty good statement. And used his past to bring him down? That very well could be the case. And what's funny is, sticking with that, Tyrone, and by the way, folks, if you want to participate in the dialogue, you can always go to amp.tv, AAMP.tv, as well as Facebook, our feed, and then you can send your questions and comments in as well. And so it's funny, Tyrone, you say that because we think about what happened with Prince. Now, Prince was on the same path to pick up, if I'm not mistaken, it was Sony Records. I think he owned a large percentage of the organization. Not really sure, but conveniently, I don't know, somehow Prince died. I don't know what happened. We saw the same thing with Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was, I guess, on the verge of doing a very large music deal. I don't know. I wasn't there. I just heard it's hearsay, right? But at the end of the day, it seems to be a similar path, Tyrone, to what you had just said. So there may be some credence to that. Who knows? All I know is that's above my pay grade, and I have no darn clue. All right. Now we're going to stick with the NFL, and we're going to talk a little bit of offensive line here for a moment because we did mention Trubisky out in Chicago, Andy Dalton in, likely as the starter. Why would they pay him $10 million plus just to come in for 1 year? Andy Dalton's going to be the starter in Chicago, but can they protect him? And this is the ongoing issue. Can they protect this guy? Are they going to build a big wall around that quarterback so they could take a guy from X to X times 3, maybe in productivity? Who the heck knows? We saw that with Troy Aikman, so why can't we see that with Andy Dalton? But the Bears have to make the commitment to protect him. Now, the 49ers have done so on their side. And so the San Francisco 49ers make Trent Williams the highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history. So while you were asleep last night, Trent Williams got paid like a quarterback. Now, Williams becomes the highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history in a monster deal from the Niners, which was reported in early hours this morning. And Williams' deal is for Are you sitting down, folks? You better lie down. $138 million over 6 years with 55 guaranteed and a $30 million signing bonus, according to multiple sources, and this comes by way of the four-letter network. So the 49ers actually acquired Williams in a trade a year ago, and, well, obviously they like what they saw. But Williams' relationship, he came from Washington with the Washington football team, the nameless team, whatever. Someday they'll figure it out too. So his relationship with Washington completely fell apart, and the 49ers got him for a very modest price of a fifth-round pick, and well, that was from the last season, and a third-round pick for this season. Oh, and by the way, $138 million. Now, Williams did what he always did, which is made the Pro Bowl. He's done it 8 seasons in a row. So I guess the bigger question lies, never mind all the money and the stuff, you got a guy that's been in the league for 8 years, at least 8 years. Now, during this time, in the last 8 years, actually, he had a season off, too. So let's just say he's a 9-year veteran. You come out of college, you're basically 22 years of age, right? So if that's the case, add 9 years onto that. This guy, we'll call him 31 years of age. I don't know, maybe 30, 31, 32. I don't know. My point is this. The wheels tend to fall off athletes at 30 years of age. They break down somewhere physically, whatever that may be. So now you're talking a 6-year deal. Now that takes this guy to at least 36 years of age. And we'll just say at least 36. The bigger question is, can that guy compete with the 21, 22, 23-year-olds, the big, quick linemen that are just coming out of college? Yes, he's a crafty veteran, a wily veteran. But at the same time, is he fast enough? Is he strong enough? He probably is strong enough, but is he fast enough? And is the money warranted? It just seems a little bit excessive. I don't know. I'm not in that business. But folks, think about this. If quarterbacks like Dak Prescott, Dak just got a deal for $40 million a year, and this guy, he hasn't won a Super Bowl, and on and on and on. Dak Prescott's a good quarterback. Is he $40 million a year good? I don't know. You be the judge of that. Me personally, absolutely not. 100%. To me, that is a gigantic, ginormous waste of $40 million a year. Especially when you have Dalton sitting in the background that'll play for a hell of a lot less. However, let's go back to Williams and this monstrous deal with the 49ers. Williams made the Pro Bowl in each of his last 8 seasons. He played it. Williams didn't appear in a game in 2019 during a tumultuous year. And, of course, Williams had a cancerous growth on his head removed after Washington had misdiagnosed it. Way to go, Washington. You wonder why you're losing your players, right? Now, Williams held out due to contract issues and his reported distrust with the Washington medical staff. So Washington put Williams on the non-football injury list when he was reported, and he said he had discomfort putting on his helmet. So Washington traded Williams. So they said, all right, apparently you have a problem here. You're damaged goods. Let's go ahead and get rid of you for a broken Coke machine. All right, so I think that was their way out of a contract. But Washington traded Williams for some mid-round picks, as we mentioned. And Ron Rivera had said, of course, the coach for Washington, had said the team had an offer for a first-round pick the year before. Quote, but for whatever reason, the deal was never done, close quote. Now, the 49ers benefited, of course, from Washington's chaotic mess, and Williams was a great addition in addition to otherwise a disappointing year he likely would have had seemingly in Washington had he had stayed. So San Francisco should bounce back from a poor season that was derailed by injuries and alleged COVID-19 issues. San Francisco clearly felt a true contender is what they will be, and it really needed Williams in there. But let me tell you this much. Talk about a team being treated unfairly. The San Francisco 49ers, just like the San Jose Sharks, the teams that play up in Santa Clara County, whatever, up in San Francisco. The fact is, the 49ers, you may recall, had to play home games in Arizona, home of the Cardinals. So they were already behind the 8 ball. And the 49ers played better later in the season, but ultimately, remember, they had a rash of injuries on top of it. So they're already a good club. Now they're going to add this big monstrosity of a human on the offensive line. They paid dearly for him, but maybe the Chicago Bears ought to take a page out of the 49ers book and say, look, those guys who are competitors of ours in the same conference, right? They're in the NFC. Maybe the Bears ought to take a page out of the 49ers financial spending ability book and say, we want to build a line around Andy Dalton. And this is the reason that the Bears can't seem to have any good offensive play, because they don't have a line. And everybody knows it. Why do you think quarterbacks don't want to go there? Andy Dalton's probably in his last year or two in his career. He's had a fine career in Cincinnati, and then, of course, signed that late deal for Jerry Jones to give him a little bit of a backup, which actually paid off. But the point is, if the Bears took a page out of the 49ers financial spending agenda book, maybe the Bears would be a little bit better off, and maybe other quarterbacks would have considered the Bears to be a very good landing spot. For example, maybe Russell Wilson, but Russell's going to have his problems in San Francisco. They still can't protect him. Oh, and by the way, Russell's getting a little bit up there in age too, and so he's holding on to the ball a little bit longer than he typically does or has in the past. So you say, Russell, why are you complaining about getting hit? Is it your offensive line? or your inability to make a decision in the backfield once you've got the ball in your hands? Are you second guessing yourself? How many quarterbacks second guess themselves? I don't know. I'm not a quarterback. If you're a quarterback, dial in. Make sure you send us a message at amp.tv, AAMP.tv, or at Facebook. But at the fact, I guess at the very root of this, when you look at the facts, offensive line does what? Protects the quarterback. The offensive line will give the quarterback a chance to drop back, survey. You've got your check downs. You got your go through your progressions. Who's out there? Who's available? Look off those defenders, guys like Tyrone Poole. Tyrone's waiting to get that pick six and take you the other way. So the fact is that offensive line does a lot. And I know for all those people that play fantasy football, you have these quarterbacks that are stat machines. But guess what? Their teams don't necessarily win because you need a balanced attack. And that running game also benefits from what? From the offensive line. So if indeed you have a good offensive line, your passing game and your running game are going to be sound. And maybe that's why Jameis Winston is sticking around over in New Orleans. Jameis Winston was primed and prepped to be that guy. That's why he was brought in last year. Drew Brees, we wish you a very well farewell. We'll see you in the booth or on the analyst side over at NBC. But other than that, build that offensive line, folks. Back here in a few. Hockey, and then baseball. Don't go anywhere.
AMP, the multi-format network, is here to help create, produce, distribute, and sell your content. For more information, send a message to info@aamp.tv. That's info@aamp.tv.
Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you with startup capital, business strategy, sales and marketing, and establishing your company with a physical location or on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea, the American Business Trust Company can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, you may visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's ABTRUSTCO.com, or call them at 657-600-1876. That's the American Business Trust Company, 657-600-1876. Call them today. They can help your business right away.
Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas. Big welcome into everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Thanks for joining us. Also, Magic 97.9 FM right here in Las Vegas. Folks, this segment is brought to you by Cali Vegas, helping people create and host their very own talk show in their very own home studio. How many people are tired of sitting back and forth or driving back and forth in the same traffic, saying, oh, I'm burning an hour a day, 2 hours a day. I used to burn an hour and 45 a day going back and forth from the South Bay and the greater Los Angeles area all the way down to South Orange County. What a disaster. Imagine if you can have your very own talk show in your very own home studio. Contact Cali Vegas for more information at 949-445-1119. That's 949-445-1119. Again, 949-445-1119. Or visit online for more information at CaliVegas.com. That's CALI Vegas.com. All right, I'm going to jump into a little hockey here. We have to do this, and I love hockey. Hallelujah for hockey. Now, Alex Ovechkin, the Great Eight, plays over in Washington. Obviously not the most popular person here in Las Vegas because, of course, the Stanley Cup Finals for a couple of years ago. But the Great Eight, this guy is good. He plays both ends of the ice. He's a gritty, grindy player. He'll jam you into the boards. He's a sniper from the dot. This guy is good. He's really good. Anyway, he scored his 717th regular season goal of his career and is now tied with Phil Esposito for 6th all-time in NHL history. Yes! So, Ovechkin is now only 14 goals behind Marcel Dion. For all you Kings fans out there, we don't really mention the Kings very often. Well, it's because we mention the Vegas Golden Knights. That's why. And that's the 5th place seed. But it's not really Marcel Dion is really what he's after. He's after going past him to Brett Hull. Brett Hull was probably the biggest cherry picker in the league. Now think about this. Here's a little history for you. Think about this. All those baseball players that were corking bats or taking steroids and this, that, and the other. It's kind of like their own way of cheating, like Bush League baseball, right? Well, in hockey, we have these things called cherry pickers. And these are the guys that will straddle the blue line, go into the offensive zone, go in the other direction, and they'll wait for the breakaway feed so they could go in and have a one-on-one with the goalie, right? And so Brett Hull did not play two ends of the ice like his old man Bobby Hull did for the Chicago Blackhawks. No, Brett Hull for the St. Louis Blues was that guy that played behind and, of course, for, well, the Dallas Stars, right? This guy just played behind the action, didn't want to get hit. He just wanted to get all the glory. He didn't want to play defense either. So not a real highly respected player, yet he has 741 goals. So he'll be passed by the Great Eight, Alex Ovechkin, and Jaromir Jagr, one of the best players I've ever seen in my lifetime. That guy at 766 goals. Gordie Howe, back to the original 6 in Detroit, 801 goals. And Wayne Gretzky, 894 goals. Can Alex Ovechkin pass Wayne Gretzky? He really needs about 5 solid years of play, which this guy is averaging 50 goals a season anyway, except for the fact last season was the alleged pandemic shortened season, whatever. Right? So the pandemic season, unfortunately, put him behind the 8 ball. And then we have the same garbage with 56 games instead of the rather 82 games that we typically have because of the so-called COVID garbage. All right? So guess what? The influenza A and B has been holding these leagues back, keeping fans out of the seats, whatever. But I believe that Alex Ovechkin is good enough to stay at the top of the game and pass Wayne Gretzky in his record. Got to remember, Wayne Gretzky played with, 6 Hall of Famers. I mean, he had just a loaded team. And so it was obvious that this guy's going to score a lot of goals anyway. And so we think about these great goal scorers. And then we think about the American-born players. And, Patrick Kane has been climbing up that hill. How high will Patrick Kane climb for the top American hockey players, American-born hockey players? This is kind of a big deal. Mike Modano right now from the Dallas Stars is the poster boy with 1,374 points. He had 561 goals, 813 assists. And so if you take that 1,374 total points, right, you get 1 point when you're talking about you get a point for a goal, point for an assist for your total offensive points. Now, Madonna with 1374, Phil Housley with 1232. Phil was a great player. Jeremy Roenick from the Chicago Blackhawks, and he's gonna die as a Blackhawk. I mean, he did play for the Coyotes, he played for the Sharks, but Jeremy Roenick is Chicago Blackhawks, even though he's from Boston. Keith Tkachuk, another good one at 1,065. Patrick Kane right behind him at 1,064. Patrick Kane is going to leapfrog Keith Tkachuk, and then maybe the next season, maybe the next couple seasons, he'll pass up Jeremy Roenick. But no question, Patrick Kane will ultimately be the most productive U.S.-born player in the National Hockey League's history. Big round of applause for Patrick Kane, but you can call him Hat-Trick Kane. Early in his career, he didn't like to play defense, but this guy has turned into a hell of a defensive player, a really good two-way player. And I'll tell you what, he has really surprised a lot of people. A lot of his former teammates used to say the same thing, give him a little crap on it. But thinking about the Blackhawks' ability to compete in the Stanley Cup Finals, I don't know about that. Tampa Bay right now is leading the way for the odds to win the 2021 Stanley Cup at 6-1. And, of course, the Bruins, the Boston Bruins, are at a lofty 12-1. It's a pretty good price, folks, for all you betting people out there, while the Avalanche remain at 8-1. The Maple Leafs somehow magically are at 6.5-1, where they're playing a bunch of Canadian teams that are very mediocre. They're not playing the great U.S. teams. So, sorry, you're a little bit overrated. Vegas, the Vegas Golden Knights at 8-1, a pretty good price at 8-1 with the best goaltending tandem in the National Hockey League. Watch out. Those guys are good. And I think they're going to make a deal right before the trade deadline for an extra defenseman. Carolina 12-1. The Oil, Edmonton, Connor McDavid, best player on the planet right now, 22-1. Flyers 16-1. The Wild at 18-1. The Wild are looking pretty good. Canadians 22-1. I can't really take them serious. But the Florida Panthers, watch out for those Florida Panthers. Joel Quenneville's got those guys humming, man. They are playing good hockey, and they're playing consistent hockey. And by the way, they have probably the best goaltender on the planet in Bobrovsky in between the pipes. So watch out. A hot goaltender can carry you through everything. But looking down the trough, the grade 8's Washington Capitals are at 22-1, a very good buy for a very loaded team. And the Blues have been playing injured most of the season at 30-1, a very good buy. The Blues are just a couple of years removed from that cup win. And the Dallas Stars with the second best goaltending tandem in hockey at 50-1, while the Blackhawks are also at 50-1. You never know what's going to happen. Hockey is a lot of fun, folks. And if you don't watch it, make sure you tune in. It is the most physical sport. Those are the best athletes on the planet. And by the way, they don't get paid as much as all the other four major sports, or all the other three major sports on top of it. So a big round of applause for our players in the U.S. and Canada from the National Hockey League. All right. I did make mention of Fernando Tatis in, I guess it was the second segment. Now, he is a great player. He came up through the White Sox organization. He's part of that system, and the White Sox traded him off because maybe the White Sox knew something that the other teams didn't necessarily know. Now, Tatis has somebody in their pocket, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. Now, this is according to the Associated Press. Fernando Tatis gets a full no-trade provision through 2028 as part of his $330 million 14-year deal with the Padres. After that, he will have the ability to block a trade to 13 teams for the remainder of the deal. That's an interesting piece. We'll get back to that. However, this guy is 22. He already has 2 years of Major League service, so if he remains in the Major Leagues, he would acquire the right after 2028 to block trades under the collective bargaining agreement as a 10-year veteran who has been with his team for 5 years or longer. Now, his contract calls for $10 million in signing bonus, payable within 30 days of approval, of course, right, by the commissioner, and $1 million salary this year. Needless to say, his last season before he would have been eligible for arbitration. So this guy got the big payday. So $5 million in 2022, $7 million in 2023, $11 million in 2024, $25 million apiece in 27 and 28, $36 million in each of the final 6 seasons. That's crazy. Now, he also gets a hotel suite on the road. And I'll tell you why we're telling you this. He also gets a hotel suite on the road and the right to purchase premium luxury seats for his people, whatever. Now, Tatis's deal announced just a few weeks ago exceeds in length $325 million 13-year agreement back in November 2014 between Giancarlo Stanton and the Miami Marlins, who, of course, was traded to the Yankees in 2017, and a $330 million deal that the Philadelphia Phillies gave to Bryce Harper. Now, he has baseball's third largest agreement by amount, trailing only Mike Trout and, of course, Mookie Betts. The crazy deals. Now, Tatis, here's where I was getting at. Tatis will give up a percentage of his salary to a company called Big League Advance as a part of a contract in which he accepted an upfront payment several years ago. While the details of Fernando's deal with the company are not known, a lawsuit filed by Francisco Mejia in 2018 said Mejia received $360,000 as part of an agreement, in fact, in which he has agreed to repay the company 10% of future earnings. So the lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice. Of course, in case you don't know, when a lawsuit is dismissed with prejudice, the court is saying that it has made its final determination on the merits of the case and that the plaintiffs therefore are forbidden from filing yet another. So no more double jeopardy. Why are we talking about this? We're talking about it because maybe there was a deal that the White Sox knew about, and they didn't want to have to deal with the potential baggage. Now, I don't know if there was any from this Big League Advance company. So the Big League Advance company has a piece of the action. Now, sometimes that can muddy the water. Now, in the hockey world, just talked about hockey, there was a player for the Detroit Red Wings called Sergei Fedorov, one of the best players I've ever seen. And Fedorov had a problem with, I guess, the powers that be, if you know what I mean, over in Russia. Nonetheless, there were hands in the soup that muddied the soup. And there was another guy named Pavel Bure for the Vancouver Canucks that had a similar problem with other people in his money. So were the White Sox smart in getting rid of Tatis because they knew that down the road there could be a problem with this Big League Advance company because he took money prior to. And that's a big, fat red flag. I think the White Sox were smart. I think they did the right thing by getting rid of Tatis. Signing a 13-year deal with anybody in the first place is complete and utter lunacy. Look, the max deal that any player should get, in my opinion, as a former baseball player, the max deal they should get is a 3-year deal with a club option for 2 years and then maybe a player option for 2 years beyond that. Something to that effect. It's got to be something similar because when you go beyond that 3 to 5 year mark, nobody knows what they're getting. They really don't know. Look at Albert Pujols and the Angels. They signed a terrible 10-year deal. They had to eat $240 million. And guess what? We don't even know his age. We'll get back to that in another show, folks. We're out of time here on The Circus. We'll see you next time right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
So, you want to be in show business. Do people tell you that you're really funny, you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show? Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic every day, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job. Get started in television or radio today with your free talent evaluation from Cali Vegas. Call 949-445-1119 or visit them online at calivegas.com. Make your dream come true today and create your new career and learn how to become a television or radio star with the help of Cali Vegas. 949-445-1119. Call now.
E-Digits. Lock them in for more information, recreation,